you get to reap the whirlwind. So I don't care if women in their sports teams are getting their teeth kicked in. I don't care. Reap what you sow. As you sow, so shall you reap. And then you get exactly what you deserve.
In this clip, Piers Morgan has his panel of guests on, including little ray of sunshine, Andrew Wilson, to talk about, guess what? You'll never guess. Trans athletes. Apparently, John Oliver did a special on what he calls a right-wing obsession with trans athletes in women's sports. And guess what? It just kicked the hornet's nest again, and Piers Morgan is one of them hornets. And so we've got another panel. And I normally try and hold my tongue just because some of you say you don't want to hear my feedback. If you want to watch the whole thing, go to Piers Morgan Uncensored and watch it there. I couldn't help myself. This gets right under my skin. So I do a lot of talking in this one. Spoiler alert. Let's watch it together. I talk a lot, and then I want to know what you think in the comments. Let's go.
I just think it's so infuriating because ultimately, I know many trans people, and I've spoken to them about, playing in women's sports, etc. And the biggest issue they face is that they just want to be accepted. Now, if I was a trans woman and I just wanted to be accepted, I'm going to do the exact opposite of what you're doing. You want to paint all of these labels on you. You want to play identity politics. You want to play the victim, but you want it to be treated as if you're any superior. That's not equality. You receiving special treatment that does not make you equal, but makes you superior to others is not looking to be included. It's actually making people detest your cause. It's making people think that you are a moron. And the way that you're trying to represent the trans community as a whole by just denying that there's a threat and being delusional about it is not helping the trans people. You're making people look at you from the outside and say, wow, they are out of touch with reality.
I think that the verbiage that you use in this statement is very clear on where you stand on trans issues. I'm going to go back to my original point. You guys trying to take out trans people from sports is a way to eradicate trans people from public.
But we're not.
But
we're
nobody has said anything.
Like
nobody,
yourself.
Stassia, nobody has said that. And this is what happens, if you don't mind me saying. What happens, the way that trans activists let themselves down, in my opinion, and you can respond to this, is that you try and shut down perfectly legitimate, in fact, urgently important debate by saying that anyone who dares to question this is transphobic and wants to get rid of trans people. I don't think anyone so far on this panel has said they want to get rid of trans people.
But she did use the word moron, right? I mean, if we're talking about, let's have a good faith, honest, heartfelt debate about these things and stop shutting us down, trans rights people, then quit saying what we're doing is moronic and calling us morons, right? I mean, you want it both ways. You want to say that pro-trans viewpoints or trans activists are morons and do moronic things and their ideas are moronic. But then you say, well, why can't you be mature about it and argue it in good faith? You're always trying to call us, bigots and please. Who's literally doing the name calling in this?
Thing like it, and yet you keep saying you people all want to get rid of trans people. Why do you believe that? Where have you got that from? You cite my interviews with some of your friends, but where have I said anything remotely that could be construed as transphobic? I don't get it.
I think the verbiage that was being used, it's very clear you guys stand on all trans issues.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So what is the solution for the trans people that are playing sports? What's the solution for them? We're just supposed to kick them out all entirely?
Let me give you the solution. Let me give you the solution. The solution's very straightforward. Almost all of them competed against biological men like themselves before, but they did it far less successfully. So you either go back, trans women athletes either compete against their biological sex, or you create an entirely new category for trans athletes. What you don't do is allow them to destroy the integrity of women's sport, which is what is happening. So it's very straightforward how you solve this. I don't want trans people to be banned from playing sport. I just want them to be banned, like I did with the dopers when they were cheating in sport. I want them to be banned from utilizing an unfair advantage. It's simple as that.
Can I ask her a question? Would you think it's fair if Novak Djokovic identified as a woman and then played Serena Williams in a tennis set Do you think that that would be fair to Serena Williams, who worked her whole life to become a star tennis player, just to get swept by Novak, who's the #1 men's tennis?
But they always do this. What if Muhammad Ali was right? You pick. What if Tiger Woods? You pick these elite athletes at the very top of their game, and I understand there are cases. You can. I don't know what the number is, but I suspect you can count them on one, maybe two hands, of some high-profile case in which it seemed really fishy that this trans person, was competing just to what? Get a gold medal? You're going to subject yourself to this kind of conversation, this scrutiny, just so you can compete against an easier playing field? It's absurd. It's absurd. They always go to this case. Now, I'm going to say something I don't say very often, is that there's parts of what Piers just said here that I kind of agree with. Like, the only problem with creating a whole new category just for that is you're actually highlighting trans, like trans, like Special Olympics. You're putting a little bit of a curse on it, I think. But there's a pejorative thing that feels kind of baked into that for me. So, but look, if you can't sleep at night because you're thinking of the 3 or 4 people that got some unfair advantage, okay, then there should be a way that everybody feels like sports is fun and fair, that we can find a way to. I don't really feel like this show, especially when you've got guests like Andrew Wilson on here, who is just the human embodiment of, a finger in your eye. I don't know. This show is about creating outrage, right? This show is about clicks, and it's not. He likes to say, I'm a journalist and this is legitimate conversation, but come on, folks. I mean, we know what we're watching here. Anyway.
I just want to know if you think that that's fair.
Yeah, I just think that the question is ridiculous because
Why is it ridiculous?
It's not ridiculous at all.
I see how it's trying to be framed. I'm gonna keep going back to my original point. Your guys' excessive attention on wanting to remove trans people from sports and have them play in their biological sex, which makes no sense because even in John Oliver's interview,
or in their own category,
the category that would make sense,
or in their own category.
There's not enough of them to create a category. Like the percentile is so small.
Actually, there actually are an increasingly large number of trans athletes around the world. Actually, it's not true. Andrew, you've been waiting very patiently. Thank you. This seems to me, this whole debate so far highlights the way this debate has been framed now for years, which is that any attempt to question what is obviously grotesquely unfair and unequal and indeed unsafe is branded transphobic, even when there's no evidence to suggest that the people saying it are transphobic.
Well, it's not just that. I mean, basically everybody on this panel is wrong. So it's
okay. Just before we let Genius here start spewing his stuff, there a lot of people who are biased don't think that they're biased, Piers. Right? I mean, there's a lot of people who act and think in a racist way that do not think of themselves as racist, right? Racism isn't just about putting on a white hood and burning crosses and lynching, black people. It's baked into so much of what we do. And I understand that nobody likes to be squawked at or scolded. Me neither, right? Nobody likes to be, taken to task for not thinking right. And I agree that the left can get shrill about it, and that's not helping anything. But we have to be able to talk about this stuff in an open-minded way. And it's clear, Piers, that you have an anti-trans bias. I know that you say you want everybody to live in dignity and respect, and you want everybody to have a fair shake. And I believe you. I believe that you believe that, right? But you keep harping on how unfair this is. What about healthcare? All right. What about these things that affect millions and millions of people? Instead of like, oh my God, it's not fair about the handful of trans people that are potentially making it unfair for somebody. It's not fair. Oh, it's not fair. Come on, man. You don't see the bias. You don't see your own bias in this?
Start with, This person says, well, the thing is you just want to erase transgender people altogether, Pierce, and then says, I wasn't saying that, Pierce. I wasn't saying that you want to erase trans people, not you specifically, when clearly that's what you were saying. At least get behind the statements that you're making. The TERF starts out by saying, well, I've been here reinforcing women's rights this entire time, right? And then the TERF says, right on top of that, but poker's very misogynistic. She can't wait to dunk on men. Very first thing she does is dunk on men in order to somehow elevate women, right? You're all insane. The truth is that the only reason that this happens to begin with is because women vote for it. They vote for it. They vote blue. They vote left. They vote in the same politicians who get behind all of this stuff. You're the deciding vote, right? And you have empowered women to do that as much as possible for the political process to do that. All of you are responsible for this. Every last one of you.
Women, he means. What a charming ray of sunshine is Andrew Wilson. Even having this guy on, you can say free speech. We want to have, an open dialogue of all different viewpoints. Well, he's got a viewpoint, and I guess there is a demographic that thinks that way now because of people like him, because of Andrew Tate. Because it gets clicks and it causes outrage, right? It's not a legitimate or wide hit. This guy wants women back in the kitchen. He wants women to be breeders. He wants to go back to a medieval... He's the walking personification of aggrievement.
Really glad that you're so perfect.
Trump.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this one. I'm good.
Well, we'll see.
Well, that's what Andrew kept saying, all of you. Do you include Emily, Andrew, or not?
Well, I just assumed it. I just assumed it. But this is the truth. The truth is, we begin with these crazy ideas, right? Under patriarchal rule, under men, this would never have happened. Right? If you look at how men vote, they vote against this nonsense. And it's fathers who are on the front lines against it. It's women who are trying to transition the children, not men. Give me a case example of where male fathers are trying to transition their kids. It doesn't exist. It's a female-only phenomenon. Literally a female-only phenomenon.
That is insane.
Yeah, show me one male father who's fighting in the courts to transition their son to a girl.
Actually,
Nowhere.
I made a
That's a reach.
podcast series
I see men on
about this.
TikTok that are diseased.
I interviewed quite a few fathers that are pushing for this. But
That's it right there, right? There's no bias. But it's a disease, right? It's a disease. This is a mental disease. That's what she said. And Piers is the guy that has a show that puts people like her and Andrew Wilson on and platforms them to be like, well, this is also a legitimate viewpoint. It's not really, look, everybody's allowed to think what they think, but when you give it airtime, you're seeing, like, on the other hand, Nazis. It's like, why do you want that to be? It's like when you're in school and you talk about there's science or there's intelligent design. Why are you considering teaching that as a legitimate? It doesn't stand up. You want to have faith in whatever you want, that's fine. You do that on your own time. But don't teach it to our kids as though it's the truth. It's not provable. That's why we have science.
the point is that this is something that benefits men, and it's men that are the ones that are saying they're women. They are all of a sudden the oppressed, and feminists like me are the oppressor, and that they're too weak and pathetic to fight and play against other men. And what do? They come and beat up on women.
Do you vote left, ma'am?
I don't know what vote left means.
Do you vote for the left-wing party of your nation?
Do you vote for Democrats?
Do you vote for what would be considered the Democrats of your nation?
No, I wouldn't have voted for the Democrats. I would not have voted for the disgrace of that party, and I also wouldn't have voted for Trump. But the point is,
if we look, hang on, let me finish. We'll follow up very quickly.
We live in a different context.
What I'm saying to you is this: it's very simple. If you look at the voting patterns of women in both the UK and the United States, they're usually the deciding vote when it comes to degeneracy. That includes it includes on the trans issue. So here you are. It's the very thing that you push for empowerment of women that is now causing your very problem. You have to now convince women. Men are already there. Men have already said, nope, we don't want this. We never wanted it.
That are claiming
it's garbage.
To be women.
Yeah, apart from the women who are claiming to be men, which now it's almost equalized. Remember that part, right? This phenomenon, though, is categorically rejected by men and reinforced by women. And TERFs like you did everything that you could possibly do in order to push that. You did everything you could do to push that. And now you get to reap the whirlwind. So I don't care if women in their sports teams are getting their teeth kicked in. I don't care. Reap what you sow. As you sow, so shall you reap. And then you get exactly what you deserve.
You seem like a lovely person.
Well, you got to throw a little Bible quote in there just for good measure.
Sorry that you have to deal with the consequences of your own actions.
What a charming guy. Piers Morgan's always good to get my blood going in the mornings, better than a cup of coffee. And he's really stuck on this trans thing. I think it gets a lot of traction. I think it gets into a part of our minds that's like, first of all, for my own sake, I don't understand it. I don't understand the enormous uptick in it. It's of all of the sort of social changes that have happened across my lifetime, this has felt like the most rapid. And it's got a lot of people, myself included, sort of scratching our heads being like, what? So fast. Like in the period of a decade, it went from almost a non-topic to like the centerpiece of all of our conversations, And you look, I want everyone to live with dignity and respect too. And the fact that I don't understand it means that I think it's wrong or that I know it's right or that they shouldn't, whatever. And if it requires policy changes, we all need to talk about that together. And I think my personal feeling is we should do that with compassion in our hearts and look at data and listen to all voices, not necessarily voices like Andrew Wilson. He's not coming to the table in good faith. My personal feeling is he's insane or deeply damaged, like somebody really hurt this guy. And that's what we're seeing. I don't know. I'm not a psychiatrist. But, it's always an interesting topic. Everyone's got opinions on it. And I've given you a ton of mine. And, of course, these panelists on Piers Morgan have given you theirs. But I want to hear yours. Let me know what you think in the comments.